I'm Lou,
And I'm Al.
and together
We're
we're
Luau
Luau
Games.
Games.
We're currently developing I Doesn't Exist.
And you're listening to the Scene World podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, let everybody know that they are being recorded.
Hello. Yep.
Hello.
Hello, my dear.
So,
Hi.
welcome to the Scene World podcast. Today,
Which issue is it? 10 millionth minute something.
yeah. I mean, we have so many of those, but not many of them are with an intro with Martin Wisnowski.
That's
Hi,
right.
Martin.
Hi. You can call me also Note Pond in the scene.
Note Pond, exactly. Yes. So in a minute, we will be, I and AJ will be talking to Germán Cruz from Rebel Rabbit, a Peruvian indie developed studio for gaming, and talking about their history and their upcoming games and so on. So a lot of Latin American coverage lately. But before though, we have some news.
Yes.
And I don't know, would you like to start with some news that you collected?
Yeah, maybe I can start. I have a little bit of a tool roundup when it comes to the latest development in pixel editors.
Nice.
So maybe the first news are that ASE Sprite, nobody knows how to pronounce this pixel editor. It's one of the most famous pixel editors right now. I would, from my gut feeling, I would say just like almost every indie developer uses this tool. And they made a major update. They released the version 1.3. And the interesting thing about this is that they have a tile map editor right now built into this tool. And I think they worked over 2 years on it. I was just like waiting for it because I used Pixel Edit before, and this is not really maintained anymore for years. And now this tile editor part was released, and it's really amazing how straightforward they implemented this, because they have different modes how to edit the tiles, and this is so super straightforward. I can really recommend everyone to check out this new version from ASE Pride. It's very, very good.
Will that also be mentioned in your newsletter?
I already mentioned that.
I see.
You mean the Storm Electricity newsletter where I post every 2 weeks about some news from the 2D shooter scene?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, we mentioned that already in a past episode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I noticed you were actually surprised that we did, because I found your account on Blue Sky when I made the Scene World account. It was like, oh, we have a new follower. Oh, I know this guy.
Yeah. Let's hope that Blue Sky will get a little bit more popularity. I don't know.
It's interesting. 1/3 of the people that we follow on Twitter or X are already on Blue Sky. But now many people are also following up on Threads now that it's also available in the European Union. So it's a hard race between the two.
Yeah. I'm still really not a fan of Threads, but we all know if Facebook is doing this, there's quite a chance that it will get popular. Let's wait and see.
Nice.
I'm a fan of Mastodon and Blue Sky still.
I mean, we have all.
Yeah,
actually.
that's also
yeah. And I set up cross posting, so when Dennis is doing his Instagram post, it's automatically posted to the others as well.
Okay.
Makes it easier.
All right, automation.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I continue with the tool roundup, because
Sure.
I found another interesting new pixel editor. It's called Pixelorama.
Ooh.
And I think it's made in the Godot game engine, so it's a tool actually built in a game engine. And I think it was released, I don't know, in the mid next year, and then they did some incremental updates and things like this. And you can download this on itch. I think it's some box, I don't know, $5 or something. And the good thing is that it runs on every operating system. So you can this also use on your old Linux machine, for example.
Okay.
Which I'm doing on my second computer, let's name it like this. And this feature is also very good designed. So it really has a good balance of features. And if people searching for more pixel editors to work with, and Pixelorama is really the new kid on the block. And I'm very curious how this tool will develop here. So that's the next recommendation. And then,
Interesting.
If you want to comment.
Interesting that when you mentioned Godot, is it spelled like Godot?
This is
Yeah?
a very
because from the retro standpoint, Godot, it's actually the very much known graphic converter for the C64 that is super famous and around since over almost 30 years.
Yes. I totally know. Wait a second, I have a Godot sticker here somewhere. I know that I was thinking about this also a long time, because I think it was just like Godot, but for me a little bit hard to pronunciate Godot. But then I actually read the basic inspiration is really from this theater piece, Waiting for Godot.
Okay, but I think
really the official name of it.
But I think the spelling is identical, isn't it?
The spelling is identical. Yeah, it's Godot. But the original inspiration was really from everyone's waiting for Godot, and now here it is.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I first in the 90s when I first heard about Godot, I was like, oh my god, you can display JPEG files on a Commodore 64. How crazy is that?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay, while you mentioned C64, it's a perfect transition to my third recommendation, because there's a Facebook page and a Discord channel. It's called Petsky World. I think this is maintained by a senior called Shine. And there he collects...
good old Andy.
Many, yes, exactly. Many Petsky releases, and this is a one-stop shop if you're interested in Petsky. I especially recommend the Discord channel, and there there's some new post there. It's a new channel. It's called Petsky Editors, and there is the start of a collection of tools which are capable of doing Petsky graphics. So on this list are meanwhile, I don't know, 13 tools or something. So if you would be also interested in retro editors to edit sort of C64 stuff, then you go to the Discord in Petsky World and check out the Petsky editors.
Nice. Wonderful. Yeah. So if I may, I will make the transition from graphic tools to graphic point-click adventures.
Yeah, wow.
And there are actually two coming up. One is coming up on the January the 13th. And it's called Twilight Oracle, and it's actually from Cosmic Void, and it has a very interesting graphic style. And it will be that game where I pop my cherry and do my first gaming review for the Scene World YouTube channel, because I got a review key from them. So thanks for that. And also, now that we are in contact with them, we also got added to their press release mailing list. And now they announced yesterday that they have another game coming up in summer. And since yesterday, you can play a demo on Steam for a horror point-and-click adventure called Devil's Hideout.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this indie dev studio is doing a lot of games at the moment.
And do you know how this is getting released? This is available on itch.io also, or do you know that?
Oh, I guess it could be. I saw that Twilight Oracle was also a Kickstarter. if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean most games are on all kinds of platforms nowadays.
Yes, I found this very interesting because on itch.io you find many stuff that is not available on Steam, for example, just like games for Playdate, games for C64, and so on and so on and so on. So I think it's quite an interesting niche.
Yeah.
Where you can also browse stuff, But
the problem is
at Twilight Oracle, I just see the page also on Steam. Is this game?
Yes, yeah, it has a very interesting graphic style. I was like, oh my god, that's new.
Wow, this looks gorgeous. Wow.
I know, it's super, yeah.
Weird colors. Wow,
I know. That was my first thought also. Yeah.
Wow. I'm not a big fan of point and click adventures, but if I see this graphics, maybe I would play it. The graphics alone. Nice. Okay. Cool. Wow. Thank you for the tip.
You are welcome. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. I put it on my wish list.
More along the lines of chilling on the beat.
Wait a second.
Whoa.
It's like the intro video starting. Maybe I just put it on my wish list.
Oh, why not? Should I have requested a review key for you instead from myself? Huh?
I'm not sure if I find the time to really review this game in the next weeks.
I see. Okay. So I'm not the bad person here. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, speaking of games, there's also, I would say, I don't know how to say it, a remake, or no, better to say, an update or a community update for the old retro game Daggerfall. It's called Daggerfall Unity 1.0, and it is available after several years of development.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, since the original game Daggerfall is for free on Steam, you can actually go to their homepage, and there is a manual how to, apply the update, the Daggerfall Unity, to your free installation of the original Steam version. So that's quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I would mention it because, I mean, I'm not an RPG fan. It's not my type of game, but I know many people like such old games. And it's always nice if a publisher is publishing a game for free on Steam and actually a community project is compatible with the Steam version. Because since Christmas, I actually spend a lot of time with, how to get retro games working in Windows 11 again, because I had the time and I was like, I want to figure this out. And often it's like, okay, it's only working with the CD release or with the GOG version, or and often the Steam version is left out. So it's nice to see that a project's actually also supporting the Steam version and not only a specific version of the original game. Because sometimes it's like, oh my god, so now I have to source the CD, which is really bad. Because, for example, I wanted to play Most Wanted again. And the problem with Need for Speed games is, in particular, Most Wanted, is that this 2005 game was re-released in 2012, and since then EA delisted it on all stores. So people would buy the re-release from 2012 and not the original release from 2005. And the problem is, since it has a secure ROM, copy protection, that doesn't work in Windows 8 and up because it's not compatible. You have to get the source DVD and then apply some patches and stuff, so it will be super complicated. And the problem really was to get the English original DVD, because some people on eBay or Amazon they want so much money that I'm like, I'm not going to buy that. So it took me a while, you know. And sometimes you have such weird offers like original version, but CD1 is missing.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
get it.
okay.
So this makes totally sense to make this kind of release. I see it because I also read about that the modding is also possible. So there might be also some modding community action going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it comes to re-releasing, I was lately playing what was the name again? It was also a classic platformer. I'm missing the name. It was not Alex Kidd, but it was a similar style of game. But there was also a reissue of it with modern graphics and modern music. But in the menu, also during the game, you could just like toggle the original music or the original graphics. So also the levels were one by one made. Yeah. And I think this is a really nice way to make a re-release of a classic game, you know.
That would be good. That would be good.
We can mix it modern graphics with the old sound effects and stuff like that.
That would be good. Yeah. Sega is doing it this way, and Disney did it the same way with the old Monkey Island titles. But EA is always doing it their way, and that is like hire a new game, look at the old release, and make a re-release and change it slightly, but you can't switch between the two.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Sega did the same with the Sonic re-releases when they released Sonic Superstars, which is a collection of all these old Sonic titles. They delisted on Steam all the original Sonic titles.
It was Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy was the
Wonder
game.
Boy.
Yeah.
Wonder Boy. Huh?
Yeah, that's a very nice remake of a game. I really like this.
Nice, yeah. Yeah. So this re-release thing in old retro games, it's actually the same problem you have with movies. Like there are 5 versions of the Dune movie.
Yeah, or Blade Runner, right?
Yeah, but Blade Runner is different because the new Blade Runner got a new name. But the Dune movies are just called Dune.
Oh, that's often. Cool. Yeah. You're true, but there are also 4 versions of the original Blade Runner.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I think the first version, I was just lately seeing this. The first version was really available for some months or even weeks because they just like put up a very cheesy end scene. And then everyone would say, "Oh no, this movie is horrible now."
Okay, I see.
I didn't know that before. The original Blade Runner version was available for only some weeks.
I see. Yeah.
But Dune, you're right. They are. I don't know. You put up Dune, and you never know what movie you will get.
Right. I mean, it's the same with RoboCop. There is the original RoboCop. From the 80s, and then there is RoboCop from 2010.
Yeah,
you know, and both are just called RoboCop. So so it's anyway. So the game industry is repeating the same mistake the movie industry did. You know, why learning from mistakes?
Yeah,
I don't even understand why do you force people to not be allowed to legally buy the original version anymore? Why not offering both at the same time, you know?
Yes.
It's never something I understood. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, well, yeah, and another news is Eliza was released for the C64S. Eliza is one of the first AI chatbots.
Oh, okay.
I think she is from the 80s originally. So Eliza is something that's very, very famous, and it's got a C64S release.
Is this the thing with the Turing test that made the Turing test popular?
I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, wow. How does it work? How does it work? Do you know it?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay, maybe it would be worth checking out.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I didn't go too much in detail, or else we would do an intro for 2 hours.
I was lately for some development task. I was lately downloading command line tools
Ooh.
for OS X or for Mac OS, it's called now. And this was just like a 3 gigabyte download. And I was thinking, command line tools with 3 gigabytes.
Wow.
What's all inside?
Wow.
Compare this to a C64.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Things are changing somehow.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we got an email that there is a new Vintage Computer Festival coming up in a new region. Between the 17th and 18th of February, and it's called Vintage Computer Festival South California. So VCF SoCal. And yeah.
Okay, this
So
sounds
it's in
nice.
Southern California, and they have some plans for it. They write, we procured 14,000 square meters of space events. Vintage computer equipment exhibited features pristine restorations and incredible modifications. Vendor of new and original tech and an impressive assortment of accessories for just about any vintage computer model. A vintage tech consignment service, auction, and free table are in the works.
Wow,
So
40,000.
that means that this Vintage Computer Festival is actually trying to sell the vintage and the new hardware for old systems. Yeah. And show them.
I was just like, wow, 40,000 square feet. But these are not meters, right?
Yeah, I read it wrong. I read it wrong. Yeah, 14,000 square feet. Yeah, this is American and I'm European. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm just trying to recalculate it, but I get only weird numbers.
Alexa, how much is 14,000 square meters in meters?
So, no answer. Ask
Yeah,
Eliza.
it told me the millimeters in meters. I didn't want to know that,
Yeah,
but never mind.
I did some
Alexa, stop.
For it goes 1,300 square
Okay.
meters.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vintage Computer Festival is one of such festivals that is all around the world. I mean, there is a Vintage Computer Festival in Munich, in Berlin, all across America. It's really...
I'm now at a different page and they say 4,200 meters. Wow, that is impressive. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the VCF is always a thing that I liked because it's not only American. As I said, they also have one in Munich and Berlin, so it's really global. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
But of course, you know me. I'm Scene World. I think it would be awesome if they also made a Vintage Computer Festival in somewhere in Argentina or somewhere. You know, where there is still a retro scene. You know. Why not? You know, or in Peru or whatever. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Not only Europe and America, because if there's one thing we learned while doing Scene World, there are also retro people in other countries. You know, like our own graphic guy Peru.
Yeah.
Peru guy Victor. You know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like also feature, especially indie developers, because It's the internet, right? You can distribute it everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, the Vintage Computer Festival, however, is a local event. It's not internet.
Yeah. That's exactly. I was just like talking about the indie kind of games. What a perfect transition to the podcast.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, well, I just have 3 more left, and so one of them is actually that that the composer Luc Lacrande actually made his version inspired by Nathan Never of Turrican 2. So we will put a link to that YouTube video. And yeah, and also iFixit, which we also had in an interview some years ago. iFixit, this entity that offers tools for repairing your devices yourself. They actually made a new newsletter entry and blog post now that the FTC in USA, so the entity that regulates electronics and repairs and stuff, actually allows now commenting on their pages.
Ooh.
And the iFixit blog suggests that we all tell the FTC we need the right to repair by commenting on their entries.
Please. Yes. Obsolescence is really one of the worst things that are on this planet right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, for me, I have two hearts that beat in my chest. I have this love for retro, but also yesterday my toaster broke after 10 years because it's not, the locking mechanism often doesn't work, which is bad for the toaster because it's supposed to lock the toast in place. And now I'm having one on order that is coming tomorrow, and that will be my first digital toaster that I can program depending on which type of waffle, toast, bread, bagel, or whatever I want to put into. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it actually has memory buttons, so you can set presets for your most eaten type of bread or waffles or whatever.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
This sounds interesting.
And this thing costs around 100 euros, so it's the most expensive toaster I've ever bought.
How much?
Around 113 euros.
Oh, I mean, it's okay. It's
if
it's long lasting, it's fine.
I mean, my toasters usually run around between 8 and 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, man, I missed something in the last 10 years. I didn't know we progressed so much in the area of toaster.
Someone I know who bought an oven, and it's also completely digital and just makes food by itself, and it's absolutely magic. It's really so amazing.
Yeah.
Let me just put up the stuff. You tell the oven which stuff you put, and then it goes.
Exactly, and it's similar with this. I'm sending you a photo where you can see you have 2 separate double slats for toast, and you can program what kind of bread or muffin or even gluten-free bread. So it's super amazing. So
toast 2 different things at the same time.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Wow, this is family compatible.
I know, but of course, first of all, I will set up because it also has memory buttons. I will set up my most eaten stuff, because if I want to eat something in the morning, I don't want to stand there spending 5 minutes first to program the toaster, you know.
Please update the app before.
Yeah. Oh, there was actually a toaster 2017 that had a Bluetooth connection and app support, but it didn't sell well. People didn't want smartphone supported toasters.
But one cool thing would be if you, for example, could burn in some pixel art into your toast. I think.
Yeah, actually, you can buy toasters
that can do this
that.
Also, also with your own images.
No, not with your own images, unfortunately.
Well, maybe someone should build this product.
Perhaps.
I could imagine that this would be a nice Kickstarter project.
Yeah. With a USB connector or Bluetooth.
Yeah, maybe with Bluetooth or just like with a screen where you can directly 64 by 64 pixels or something.
And the interesting thing is, since the newer iPhones also have USB-C, if you make it a USB-C connector, you also don't need anything special for Apple, because now the new iPhones also have USB-C. So, but the problem is, I also have a kitchen scale that is digital with app support, and the problem is the manufacturer at some point rarely does updates to the app anymore, and then you bought a 70 € kitchen scale that you can barely use because the manufacturer decided like, oh, it's not worth anymore to put any developer task to it.
Yes. Yeah. This is what I mean with the obsolescence thing, you know. If something like this happens, then please open source the app. Or something like this, I don't know, so that people can just continue using that.
Yeah.
Could be so easy. Yeah.
And then they did an update, and the update was like however aimed towards other kitchen scales they sell that don't have Bluetooth but use a QR code to scan. But the problem is, since this kitchen scale is Bluetooth driven and no QR code, I wrote them an email like, okay, nice that you updated the app, and nice that I now have to register my kitchen scale again. However, there's no QR code. And they were like, sorry, here's a QR code, and they sent me the QR code by email.
Okay.
I mean, how stupid is that? I mean, if you make an update to the app, make sure that also Bluetooth is still supported, and not only just validating your license for the app by scanning a QR code that is not in the manual of your kitchen scale.
Yeah. Or the other aspect, which is also very interesting, if you have a device that you use, I don't know, 2 times a year, and then before you want to use it, you need to make a mandatory update.
Yeah, that's actually the case. Yeah, that's actually the case. Yeah.
Just like, well, why not just use it?
But I also thought the next time my washing machine dies, I mean, I still have my first washing machine. It's now 21 years old, my first washing machine, and it's still working. That's actually the only machine that didn't break in my household yet. Next to my dryer. My dryer also is still the same one. And I was thinking, like, how often I was stuck with the problem that the door wouldn't open, and the machine, because it's analog, it wouldn't tell me while the lock mechanism didn't open. And then you are there, like, looking in the manual. I'm like, yeah, you have to, remove the water and then reset the timer. And then I'm like, oh my God. And after half an hour, finally you can remove your laundry because you finally managed to unlock the door. So, and I thought my next washing machine, it will be with Bluetooth, because I want to know why the machine doesn't let me open it. Tell me why. And the problem is with such an analog washing machine, you don't know why.
Yeah, but
There's no display
it's
because
physics.
it's analog. Yeah.
It's physics. You can just look at it.
Unfortunately, it's not. There is, I don't know, there is some programming. If certain conditions aren't met, you cannot open the door. Which I understand, because if there wasn't a security mechanism, you
Yeah.
could actually
Good.
hurt yourself, you know.
Yeah.
If you could unlock the door during operation, that could be hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. To this day, I still don't know why in this incident it didn't open, but after doing certain troubleshooting, I suddenly was able to open it. But I was like, fuck, you know. And I was like, it would have been so much easier if it was actually able to show me what is wrong, you know. I don't know. Tell me, like, I don't know, a sock got stuck or whatever the reason is, tell me. So sometimes I think devices should have been smarter, but I mean, this washing machine is from 2003, so 21 years old.
Wow. I think the oldest device I have is my stereo. I bought
Ooh.
it when I was still a teenager.
Oh yeah.
And a turntable, and they're both still working, and I still use them. That's very awesome. Also.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, but I also have my first stereo from 92. Yeah. But I was actually talking about kitchen appliances.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah.
Good. Wow, that was.
And last but not least, Protovision released their December newsletter, and so they are working on new hardware, new games being announced. I mean, it's a whole list. It's so much that Martin thought this list was the whole news.
Yeah, quite a long list. Yeah.
Yeah. So check it out. Well, I guess the most important is Sam Journey's NES version pre-order started. Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess that's the most important of that list. And there is a new game called Space Red coming to the C64. Yeah.
Mhm. All right.
All right. Yeah, well, that would be all from me. So,
Yeah. Thank you for the updates and the
no
news.
problem. So let's jump to Peru and
Yes.
talk to Germán Cruz.
All right.
I practiced so much to pronounce this name.
Good.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
So today we have another guest, and this time it's Germán from Peru, from the develop studio Rebel Rabbit. And
Yeah.
today we are talking actually about, I would say, a retro-inspired game that is called Wild Wide Space.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for sitting with us and for putting up with doing
Butchering
our intro
your
7
name.
times.
Yeah, well, butchering names is our thing, you know. Sometimes that happens. Yeah. All right. I mean, it's actually interesting because when I sent you an invitation, your first reaction was like, "Are we retro enough with our
Yeah.
game to be guests on our show?" And my reply was like, "We have topics and guests all over the place, so it's not really an issue." Interestingly, we have a common friend, and that is Victor.
Yeah, Segarra.
Exactly. So perhaps let's start with our common question, as with all guests. What was your starting point with computers and video games, and how did you become a game dev?
I think that my first contact with video games was like MS-DOS games, like console games. Yeah. I really got into Age of Empires 2 and Half-Life. So I I've always been more like a PC kind of guy. Yeah. And I remember that I just played the games, right? But I remember that my sister, my older sister, she started the university and she had, like a programming course, and she programmed a little game in which you had to guess a number. You had like 10 tries to guess a number, and if you did, like, you won, and if you don't, you lose. And it was pretty silly, but what I found, like, really really interesting, like mind blowing, yeah, mind blowing, yeah. It was that you could make games. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a realization that, like, all game devs have. Like,
Mhm.
I can make these things. Yeah. So I went and I, like, did my research on the internet. Like, how do you start making games? I remember a piece of software, like, it was like a proto engine, game engine, that it was called FPS Creator. So you had the basic mechanics of a first person shooter already programmed, and you just, like, you put a door here, you place a lever here, an elevator, enemies. um and it was so difficult for me to, like, to get the software, but I managed to do it, and that was, like, how I realized that this was something that I would like to do, in a professional way. Yeah.
Hmm.
And this is how you founded the dev studio as an indie developer with a bunch of friends. I mean, this is what it looks like on the homepage, basically.
Yeah. So I knew that I wanted to become a game dev. I wasn't sure, like, what career I should study. So I study software engineering in order to, be able to develop video games. And then I got an internship at a local studio here. I learned so much there, and I met my, like, my business partner there. Yeah. So we had, on the side, we had been making a little game that it's called 64.0, and we had like a prototype. We saw future in the game, and we were like, okay, like, let's go big or go home, right?
That was
So
2017, if I saw it correctly.
yeah, we quit our jobs 2016, and we released the game a year later. Yeah.
Hmm.
Our first game.
So if you said you quit your jobs, you really went in full power, not as a side business at first, and see how it goes.
Yeah, full starving indie dev mode. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like really exciting to be working on our first game, our first studio. Like, savings were, like, falling apart.
Non-existent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But we managed to release the game. We managed to recover the costs, and yeah, that led us to continue developing games.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
You mentioned
You
your
mentioned
business.
a part
Yeah.
earlier on that resonated, because that was, I used to play, games on the C64 back in the day, and the
Mhm.
big realization for me was when I realized I could hit one key and break out of the program and then just list the whole thing and change the parameters.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, like I can do so much more with this than just play the game. Like,
Yeah, it's
I imagine
like
the
like
same
a
kind of thing.
new whole world opens in front of you. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Just a question, because you mentioned business partner. Is it Richard, the business development guy,
Yeah.
on the page?
It's Richard.
Wow. Nice. And then you hired more people because you have so much more.
Yeah, we are 7 people right now.
Nice. So how did it go on from there?
So we released our first game. Then we tried developing, like we tried venturing into other like platforms. We tried to make a mobile game, but we realized that it wasn't our thing. So yeah, we stick to the premium PC console games. Then we, after 3 hard pretty hard years, we released our second game. It didn't sell well, but it allowed us to get like contract jobs, because like the game was fun, and the game looked like pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a commercially attractive kind of game, because it was a local co-op, and it's those games are kind of hard to sell, but the game did allow us to get more contracts, which help the studio grow. Yeah. So
You're talking about Duel on Board.
Duel on Board. Yeah.
I mean, it must be, because the other games on your homepage it's all say coming soon.
Yeah. yeah. We are like developing a couple of games on the side. Our main project is Wild Space. That's our main focus. But yeah, last year we won a government grant here in Peru.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that allow us to even like grow more than to the team and the studio. Yeah.
And I'm also looking at, I'm looking at the Steam thing here, and I mean, 100% of the reviews for 64.0 are positive, are 100% positive, or 100% of the reviews are positive, I should say. And and Duel on Board, 100% of the reviews are positive.
Yeah, so the games were like pretty well accepted for the community. Yeah. So that was a motivation, like a validation for us, like, okay, we are making good games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's getting ratings like that online and on Steam is pretty unheard of.
I think
where like 90 to 100% are positive reviews. That's.
Yeah, I mean, you have some games, we all know those games that caused a wild shitstorm for being not ready but released and stuff. And then publishers are like, okay, let's try to get it at least mixed and not just a very negative or mostly negative. So, and then I would say a product is probably almost already burnt, because who would buy games that has like a mixed rating, Then you would think twice about buying it. And especially we have to take into account that you are in Peru, so in this region of the world, prices are a bit different. I mean, that is why on Steam especially, you have regional pricing for some games, depending on the income of the region of the games, which is unfortunately how all those gray market keys are getting resold because people work around region locks and then
Yeah.
gain a key sold for a different market and then resell it on a higher margin, which is also something that probably pains you a lot as a developer, right?
Yeah, with especially with our first game, that was like a phenomenon that we actually saw a lot. Yeah, the key reselling. But the thing is that mm, how can I say it? How can I say this? You know, what I feel, and this is my personal opinion, like the Latin American industry is developing, is like growing, but it's not quite in the, you know, like in the state of European or North American games industry. So networking, it's hard, you know, it's hard for us to go to events like GDC or Gamescom. Um, but having the possibility to sell our games in dollars, it's, you know, like a positive things for us, because our, you know, like I don't know how, what is the expression, the cost of living here is considerably smaller to other countries. So yeah, that's one thing, one good thing going for us. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I've heard that if you are making $500 in Peru, you are considered one of the rich people for monthly income, net income, and that is how much I pay for my living rent. So I mean, I would starve if I had this income available here in Germany. So I totally get it. Yeah, also good. Also, the point you make that it's harder to go to events like Gamescom. Interestingly, Victor, who comes to Gamescom because we run our DiscMac on a booth in the retro area, he said that when he goes to game jams in Peru, Lima, for example,
Yeah.
and he asks people like you, like Peruvian game devs, like, would you like to come to Germany to Gamescom, which is coincidentally the largest games fair in the world. And then he said the reactions are like, why should I go to Gamescom? What is the gain for me as a Peruvian developer? So he said he's surprised by the lack of interest by the Peruvian people. That's actually what he said to me.
Yeah, I think that and this is like a theory that I can, you know, like imagine of what is happening, is that a lot of um, participants of the local game jams are, you know, like people that are you know, trying to enter the industry, you know. So mm, it's been quite a lot of time since I've part- participated in a game jam, and I know that a lot of like veteran uh, fellow developers don't attend game jams anymore. So yeah, so I guess that it's hard to, you know, like to take advantage of the, you know, like for example, a couple of months ago I went to a video game exposition in Argentina where a lot of publishers went, and I took advantage of that opportunity because I had a game, like, you know, like in development, you know, I had a studio. So I guess that people in game jams are just trying to enter the industry and are not, you know, like ready to have something to show. I guess the networking could be, you know, like valuable, but traveling abroad, it's really expensive, like for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, I know that I spent a while to get a job that could make me afford the plane ticket to Peru. I think to this date it was the most expensive plane ticket I ever paid in my life. It was almost €1,000 to go from Germany to Lima. Was like, oh my God. Yeah, I guess that's just a problem. Um, but I also see that in the game industry, especially in the fellow gamership, there is a different level of exploitation. I mean, just recently, Tyron released the new RoboCop Rogue City game, right? And guess who is complaining that a double A studio doesn't have the money for localization in other languages? It's always either a German or an Austrian gamer complaining, why didn't you invest the money in translating Robocop into German? And then, of course, the first reply is by somebody from another country saying, learn English. And I've never seen such posts by people in Latin America, like Peru, Argentina, or something, where people complain about the lack of, well, financial possibility or interest in translating their games into a zillion languages. I think so. It should be easier for your region. I mean, you just make a simple game and people don't expect as much. More so, people are positively surprised how good your games are, despite you are just an indie developer, right?
yeah. I mean, I think that it also makes sense, like in the case of Spanish, when you localized your game to Spanish, you are targeting a lot of countries, like a whole continent. Maybe like translating to German results into a more reduced, like population. That
Yeah,
would be a guess.
could be.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, how many German language regions do we have in the world? I mean, German part of
Germany.
Switzerland, Germany, Austria, German
Some
part of
France.
Italy.
Some France.
Yeah, some France, some German part of, well, Italy, as I just said, and
But you also
I
got
mean,
French parts of Germany, so it evens out.
yeah, right. Well, anyway, yeah, you're right there. I mean, honestly, I mean, we are in 2023, almost 2024. You would expect that people are nowadays educated enough to handle it, right?
You would
I'm
think.
not watching my series and my movies on Netflix in German anymore. So, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I play my games on English, in English. Yeah.
You see, yeah, it's also the problem that you always have is some things don't translate well. I remember when Unusual Findings was released last year, and a retro point and click adventure done by an Argentinian developing studio, and they released the game only in English and Russian. Russian because their publisher was from Russia, and of course now they moved to Cyprus because and 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 the game was, to my surprise, badly translated. It had issues like in the adventure game that sometimes doors are not just closed but also locked, but they didn't translate it correctly or whatever. I mean,
you really can't say translate because it was never released in Spanish. But I guess the people who worked on the game, on the dialogue and stuff, probably were Argentinians. And then you have the problem that you can't open a door because you are missing the key, but it's not obvious that the door is not just closed but also locked, you know.
Yeah.
And I think if you translate games into different languages, you also have such logical problems, language barriers, mistranslations,
Yeah.
and all those complicated side effects that suddenly you have to take care of. And they never fixed it, by the way. They just collected the Kickstarter money, released the game, and then abandoned it and never released any updates.
Oh, what a shame.
Really?
You know? So
Yeah.
then
But
the
it's
question
hard.
is like, then the question is like, of course, some people say it's because of the economic troubles Argentina has currently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You may have to do something with that. Yeah.
But
Yeah, but
to keep
it's
a
hard.
game in a broken state is would hurt. It would be heartbreaking for me to know that your game has such severe errors, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one can only guess, no, what happened. But yeah, localizing the game is pretty hard, actually. Yeah. For our first game, actually, we received help from the players. We didn't have, like Hungarian, and we received I remember this. We received an email that said like I noticed your game isn't in Hungarian, so here is like the translated version of your text in Hungarian. So they gave us like a total translation of the game for free because they liked the game, and of course we ended up adding the game, giving them credit for that. So localizing the game along with the community is something that it has worked for us, and it's um, it feels nice to work alongside your community. Like it makes them feel, because they are part of like the development of your game. So, yeah.
Which is interesting because on the other hand, you didn't make your games on Steam early access, which is what a lot of indie studios do. And sometimes games are in early access for 7 years.
Yeah.
And they feel like they never get finished or whatever.
Yeah. I think that from my point of view, like you gotta like question yourself, why are you going to early access? Like are you just trying to sell the game earlier so you can have like money? I don't think that's like a good reason to do it. But I don't know. Maybe it works for other people. In our case, actually, we are planning to release the game on early access or release Wild Wild Space, our current game. But for the first two titles, we didn't need the field to do so. So yeah.
Interesting. Can you share more about your thought process behind it to make it different now compared to your first two games? If it's not a secret, of course.
No. It's not at all. So I view our projects, like our development process, like I divide it in, I don't know, like 3 main like stages. So the first one, we just want to build the game, not in secret, but like in a controlled environment,
Right.
and then during this first step, we want to, like we are actually starting like a private alpha kind of thing, like program. So a very reduced number of people can get access to the game, and we start building the community from there. So we can, like, how can I say? We can get more comfortable around developing the game alongside the community. Like setting up our weekly builds, or maybe if we want to do like a questions and answers, a Q&A session every Friday. It's easier to handle the things when you have like a reduced community, right?
Right.
And once we feel more comfortable doing those kind of things, and then we would like go to the step 2, like trying to reach a bigger audience, and with that, early access. Yeah. And then, of course, release.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I always felt like a game should be a good game because of the game itself, the concept, and so on. Perhaps let's talk a bit about the concept. I mean, you sent me a Steam key on Wild Space, and I was actually very pleased with the way the gameplay works and the mechanics. It really seems to be a mixture of ideas and concepts that have been there before, but totally shuffled in a new way,
Yeah.
So what was your thought process behind that?
So we at first, how can I say this? In our first 3 games, the point of like of a start of all of our games are like mechanics. So we had this mechanic of going around the planet in mind. At first, it was going to be another local cop, but after Duel on Board, like we like went the opposite way. So, but we had this mechanic that really felt interesting for us. We kept on exploring, like pivoting, maybe some ideas. Yeah, the game has finally reached a mechanical state in which we are very, very confident. The game is still missing, like the the macro layers. The game still doesn't have progression because it's a roguelite. The game doesn't have progression. It doesn't have a story, But we wanted to make sure that we have the core, the gameplay core, like right, on point. And we feel confident that we are there. So we are now going to start building, like all these layers, progression. So yeah.
Which is interesting because I also contributed to that in the forums of the game on Steam. There was a discussion about how the game is controlled. And I mean, I have my trusty Xbox 360 controller from 2008. It's still alive. And there was a discussion about why did you separate the controlling by the 2 thumbsticks and not put all the directional steering on 1 thumbstick. And actually, I have to admit, it feels quite natural once you get used to the fact that you have to, control the steering by both hands. But at first you are a bit confused because muscle memory is like, you can go all 8 directions with one thumb, and now you can't.
Yeah. I mean, controls are not, written in stone. That they can always change. But from our experimentation, I mean, yeah, it feels natural on paper that all the movement should be controlled with one stick. Like the vast majority of games. But in this case, we found that it doesn't work too well because the horizontal movement, it's like an analog movement that can go like you can I don't know, it's like a continuing movement, right? But your vertical movement is more like just single presses, right? So the thing is that the game is very fast paced. So sometimes when you just want to move horizontally, you end up, changing your vertical movement. And that felt, that felt bad. That felt wrong. Because vertical movement is very important in this game. Sometimes you change your lane and maybe you receive a hit when you shouldn't have, So yeah, separating separating the horizontal movement with the vertical movement gave more control and prevented these, like
Fails inputs.
unwanted, yeah.
I mean, isn't it a bit? Let's compare it. Isn't it a bit like when you are in a settings menu of a game, and to change the volume you go left and right, and to go through the list of settings you go up and down, and the thumbsticks are too sensitive. So sometimes when you go up and down, you end up making a little feint on the right or left, and suddenly you change volumes. That is why I'm always using the D-pad, which is digital, so I don't accidentally change some settings in a game,
Yeah.
Isn't it a bit like that?
Yeah. And imagine, like that, but like with 8 enemies shooting at you,
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
yeah. You would bite the bullet pretty fast and then get frustrated and
Yeah.
throw the controller against the wall, and then you have to buy a new controller and stuff. That can be an expensive mistake.
Yeah. I mean, it feels wrong because from the player perspective, it wasn't your fault, right? Like you wanted to do something, but the game reacted in a way that you didn't expect, in a way that wasn't transparent for you, So yeah.
Good thinking. Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, our theory is that although people are going to find it a little bit, like weird at the beginning of the game, it shouldn't take too long to get used to this control scheme. Yeah.
No, it took me like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I was like, okay, There was another game who did that. I totally forgot its name, but it's actually also on my arcade machine, where you also have the same
the arcade
kind of
machine
input.
that we never see used.
Because
Yeah,
I
I was actually going to ask you about
what ask me what about it?
at the arcade machine.
What do you want to know?
Does it still works?
Yeah, of course it works. I mean,
Maybe
it was
it's
like
just a problem.
no, it was like either having a sofa or an arcade machine, and I decided for the arcade machine.
See, I turn this stuff on so people know that it works, but he just keeps that thing off.
Yeah, I keep the thing off. Yes,
Yeah.
I only put it on when I have to, but I actually want to play with it. Yeah. It's basically an universally JAMA machine, so you can put in any PCB of any arcade machine game you want. I mean, the JAMA adapter was introduced in 85. So any game older than 85 needs adapter, like Pac-Man, for example, or Shoplifter. But any game after 85 simply connects to it. So it's pretty universal. So it's a real arcade cabinet. No PC inside or anything to not an emulator or whatever. No, it really requires the original PCB to put into. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I go all the way expensive and have to pay 300 and more for my games.
And then never uses them.
No, of course I use it. Yeah.
Next time we do a podcast, just turn it on and just have it playing something in the background, just quietly, just so we can see it. Because I mean, I work hard on getting these props behind me.
That's actually not possible in all games because it doesn't have a volume control.
Okay.
That's the thing with arcade machines, when I, for example, when I connect Tekken to it or something, and I start up the machine, it says "Good morning," because it's supposed to, you turn it on in the morning, leave it running, and then shut it off in the evening.
Oh,
some PCBs have volume knobs, so you can turn the volume down.
Use those.
But many don't actually. Yeah, so it's a big issue. It's not supposed to run in the background being silent.
Well,
yeah.
Just saying. It's been how many years that we've been doing this, and I've never once seen that thing on.
Yeah, but
I don't know if I believe you that it works.
Oh,
sure it does.
The hard part was finding people to get it working. That's the thing, because in contrast to America and Peru and other countries, we don't have arcades anymore where you can just go into and play something.
We don't really have many arcades here either.
With me, you have in 2009.
There were a couple left, but they've since vanished.
They are not common anymore. Unfortunately.
Wonderful. Thanks for sitting with us. Looking forward to see the game finally released.